hello everyone. Thanks for joining John L. Scott's Facebook Friday. Another wonderful week in the real estate industry, growing every week actually. It's incredible the kind of activity happening out in certainly the 4 states that we operate in: Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and California. So John L. Scott is a 3rd generation regional real estate brand, one of the largest in the country, 4th largest in the country. And Lennox Scott is the 3rd generation owner. So he's the grandson of the original founder, and he's actually on our call today. And we have the distinct pleasure of inviting and meeting with Brady Sandahl, who is a rock star real estate agent, team lead out of the Coachella Valley. So down there in beautiful Palm Springs area, 119 degrees. Brady had mentioned that you could actually fry an egg by just throwing it in the air. No concrete needed. So in 2019, his group was recognized as being Coachella Valley's highest producing team, as well as the only team who sold over 100 million within that year. In addition to representing clients as well as leading an award-winning team, Brady is an active member of the Desert Estates Network, Coachella Valley Premier Consortium of real estate professionals who specialize in selling luxury real estate, as well as board member and president-elect for the Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce. Brady is actively coached by several leading experts in the real estate industry around customer engagement, and has earned a Master's of Arts in organizational management. And I will tell you, Brady is an incredibly organized individual. He also presented on several HGTV shows, including National Open House and What You Get for the Money. And then beyond all that, if he isn't busy enough, he's also in charge of the Keller Williams Luxury Task Force, and has a incredible view of how to deliver amazing luxury marketing and value to clients. And he calls it the gold standard that they deliver on. And so we're going to be talking today around Brady's team and his development and the areas that they've grown and how they've done that. So for those of you who are interested in becoming a team, or for ownership that are looking to have more of a team-centric office, this is going to be an incredible show, and certainly one that you could play in office meetings with your offices, or for teams just looking to get ideas to how to grow your business. So Brady, thank you so much for joining us today. I just wanted to point out that I have the JLS SoCal shirt on, since we're meeting with the quintessential SoCal guy today. And thanks so much, Brady, for joining us.
James, it's my pleasure. And to the ladies and gentlemen of John L. Scott and Lennox, thank you so much for the opportunity, and will be the pleasure to share some thoughts with you. I know that markets run in a 90-day cycle, and the 90-day cycle we're in right now is extremely strong. So for you to choose time to be here means a great deal. And I want you to know that it's my expectation to give you gold nuggets that you can put into business immediately, whether it's from running your market center branch or running your book of business. So we'll make this a great use of your time.
Oh, I really, say no more. We accept. Thank you so much for joining us. So Brady, you know about John L. Scott. Tell the group about your kind of John L. Scott understanding, and, as you put it, affinity for John L. Scott.
I'm a raving fan of John L. Scott. I was born and raised in Lake Oswego, Oregon, moved to Vancouver, Washington, where my father's company was based. And my mother was involved in medical centers. And at the very early age of 9, actually, I apologize, at the age of 5, I would attend my father's open houses. He was in real estate as well. And I thought that every 5-year-old would go to an open house and you would ask two questions. Would you like a cookie and would you like to buy the house? I thought that was normal as a 5-year-old. I didn't know
yeah.
child labor laws might come into question there. But in that experience, my father was with a different brand, and I grew up admiring two brands. Again, I was age 5, and the brands were Nordstrom and John L. Scott. And my late father, who would have been 92 this year, was friends with Lennox's father. And my father said, someday you'll either work for Nordstrom or John L. Scott. They're both at the same level. And so it's really a pleasure to be in a room, a virtual room, with so many of your ladies and gentlemen today. I want to congratulate you. You know, you have taken a family business and you have supported that family to grow a larger family. And it's truly my pleasure to be in the room with you today, because I know, like you, how hard it is to show up every day, not only to find buyers and sellers, but to find talent and support that talent as they take on the challenge of listing and selling real estate. So I just want to congratulate everyone for all the success you have had. And remember that through the times right now, which are challenging, right? We can't rely as much on motivation as we can on discipline. So encourage yourself and those that you lead to fall in love with discipline. And when you fall in love with discipline, you'll actually use less energy and you'll get results a lot faster. So I'm just so honored to be here with all of you today.
Oh, thank you. I mean, there's nothing more special than, as you had explained, kind of like your understanding around John L. Scott is you call us an iconic brand. Could you describe a little bit about what would constitute an iconic brand in your mind?
So one of the things I love about Lennox is I have a infatuation for watching dynamic CEOs who build iconic brands. And there are elements of iconic brands that I believe make a brand iconic. Number one, brand consistency. And I don't mean just the look of the logo. I mean how the ladies and gentlemen show up to reinforce the brand standards that the Lennox has put out to you every single day. And so the iconic brand is about the consistency of the look and feel and how the ladies and gentlemen show up. So whether you go into a John L. Scott office, or you go into a Nordstrom store, or you go into a Ritz Carlton hotel, the anticipatory service, the expectation of showing up every day, is consistent. And ladies and gentlemen, when you're building a luxury brand, it isn't about the price point, it is about the experience. And so iconic brands are based on a foundation of consistency. Consistency of what the consumer will see, i.e. the logo, consistency of what the customers will feel. And here's a note from the Ritz Carlton. I hope you choose to write it down. When a transaction ends, 10% of your customers may never come back because they no longer need your service. They have literally had a great experience, you've helped them buy or sell, and they moved out of your market. 10%, actually 14, may decide to go elsewhere because they've married a real estate agent or they've been influenced to go elsewhere. But 67%, ladies and gentlemen, 67% of consumers may leave your company or your brand because they're not connected to the brand. The challenge is if we cannot get our arms around the customer or our arms around the associates who serve the customers, they're going to drift away from the brand. So every day we have to beat the odds of that 67%. And how we do that is we create defining moments and brand loyalty through brand standards that everybody understands and can choose to follow. So in our company, when we build our iconic brand, we talk about it daily. And I encourage all of our sales directors on the call, there are 3 things that we talk about every day. I hope you'll talk about them as well. Number 1, we do a lineup. We call it the 3 G's, and you're certainly welcome to use this. It won't steer you wrong. The first G is gratitude. As a leader, we have an obligation to allow our ladies and gentlemen to self-share what they are grateful for, because we know that people love recognition. So that first G of gratitude, we're asking them to share what they're most grateful for. If they cannot identify, I will call them out on doing something correctly. Be specific. When you're rewarding performance, as Lennox knows, you want to be specific on what you're rewarding them on. That second G, goals. Ladies and gentlemen, our job is to help customers, but we also have to build a profit, which is why I'd love for sales directors to talk about goals every single day. Talk about where you are for the day, the week, the month, the quarter. We are halfway through third quarter. If anybody can hear jingle bells, it's going to start happening today. I'm pretty sure retail stores are going to put in those Halloween decorations, and then maybe on Monday, Christmas. But we want to talk about goals every day, and here's why. Sometimes we'll kick the can down the road to a weekly sales meeting, which means we're allowing our ladies and gentlemen to build bad habits or work further away from their goals. Talk about goals daily. Here's why. There's a great book called Atomic Habits. I recommend it highly. Atomic Habits has one principle, and Lennox, you'll love this because you preach it. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall down to the level of our systems and our habits. And if we're not talking about goals every day, and we're not talking about the performance of systems and habits to lead to the goals, we're going to drift away from the goal. And the further you drift, you're going back to that 67% that will leave the brand. So we've talked about gratitude, we've talked about goals, right? Celebrate your wins. But when you're talking about the goals, we aren't talking about the benchmark. We're talking about the systems and habits and activities that have enabled them to hit their goals. And third, we need to talk about the grit, G-R-I-T, the grit of the day. What do you as leaders, what do you as agents, what do you as operation managers need to do to get through the day so that you can celebrate the goal tomorrow? And by the way, we have the 3 Gs at 8:45, and we have something that we call the accountability at 4:45. Probably a call that nobody loves, but everybody needs. Why? We actually look at 3 things. We look at what conversations did you have in the day that led to virtual or physical appointments. Now, if there have been no conversations, we're going to ask, is there anything that kept you from having conversations with your customers? If it was, I was with clients all day, great. If it was, I was on the couch all day, oh, okay. Let's fix that behavior quickly. Let's not allow it to go 7 days. We don't want the agent, the director, the manager to learn that behavior over 7 days. Let's correct things quickly and reinforce positive behavior. So I recommend implementing those 3 Gs. And if you want to take the tough road, the important one, put in the accountability and do it daily. Remember, your agents have a tough job. I have a tough job. We're primarily commission-based, which means we are going to have to get out of the house, virtually or physically, and find an owner to be a seller and a shopper to be a buyer. And that does take stamina. So as you're talking about those 3 Gs and you're talking about gratitude, goals, and grit, encourage your ladies and gentlemen to focus on discipline, not motivation. Motivation is volatile and it's highly influenced. Discipline, it just follows to the result.
Oh, that's great stuff. And you know, you're right. There is that extra step, the accountability step that a lot of us would avoid, but having that accountable, it sounds like with care and nurture, having an accountability session closer to the end of the day and having people report back, obviously their wins for the day. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, as a leader, my job is to lead generate, right? But my other job is to build up the ladies and gentlemen in our group. And we have 12 ladies and gentlemen in our group. And we're approaching those accountabilities. We follow what are called the 4 Cs. And you can put this in your lead generation program as well. And for our managers that may be a little bit concerned about conflict, addressing weak performance, think about the 4 Cs. Number 1, first C, care. Your, ladies and gentlemen, your customers, internal and external, need to understand how much you care about them. And you'll need to care about them more than they may choose to care about themselves that day. So lead that call with care. Second C, curiosity. Really understand where the customer is, that internal customer or that external customer. Where are they in that moment? Remember, when people fail, it's typically not the person who's guilty, it's the system or the habit. And we think that we're the ones that are guilty. No, it's the system or the habit that should take the blame. So you've had that care, you've had that curiosity, then we go into consultant. And the way we handle consultant is by asking them a question. Would it surprise you to learn that your customers actually want to hear from you today? Would it surprise you to hear that 70% of the market is in a multiple offer? Would it surprise you to know that the largest amount of buyers are buying right now? And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So you have that consultant role, not as a parent, not as a professor, but more as a interview. Would it surprise you to learn that I can help you get back on track? And then that fourth C, and we have to do this more than ever before, we have to close our ladies and gentlemen to the next step. We have to close them on believing and they can do it. We have to close on the sellers and buyers moving forward in the agreement. So the 4 C's, care, curiosity, consult, and close. Those are 4 great C's that can get you to a better outcome with less tension.
Thank you for that. So, you know what, you and I met on early on to talk about this call, you had told me some of the successes that you've had with your team over the years. I think for the group, both as our agent brokers, but as well as our office leaders and our independent owners of John L. Scott offices, I think there's a huge interest around the development of your team, what it looks like, kind of the makeup of it, and then also, you know, things you've learned along the way.
Sure. So let me just say this. I swam for 11 years. And I swam because my father said, I have a great sport for you. You're going to actually start at this end of the pool and you're going to swim down to that end. And when you get the wall, just turn around and go back. And then when you get to that wall, just turn around and go back. And you're going to do that 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, 11 months of the year for 12 years. I didn't know. I guess I'm highly coachable. Well, when you're swimming 4 hours a day, you can't really talk, right? It's an individual sport, you against the clock. Real estate in many ways is you against yourself. It's not you against the other agents. It's you outworking your own potential. So in that rhythm of working in corporate America for big corporations in Seattle, I realized I really wanted to sell real estate and I wanted to do it in Southern California. So when I moved here, I interviewed with 3 brokers. And you'll love this. The first broker told me all the reasons why I would not succeed in real estate. I didn't have any experience. I came from corporate America, blah, blah, blah. The second broker, we don't think you'll make it. They just started talking and talking. Neither of the 2 brokers asked me any questions. The third broker, here was their opening question. Tell me where you want to be in 5 years and what we need to do to help you get there. I signed that contract so quickly. So for 6 years, I was in that red and white balloon called RE/MAX, learning how to be the Heisman Trophy winner because their brand is really about the individual agent. Nothing wrong with that. But in 2010, they decided to close the franchise, and I was asked to open up Sotheby's here in Palm Springs, California. Now, Sotheby's is a luxury brand, and that's really their niche. They're a high-end marketing luxury brand. Again, they said, well, if you can simply sell 10 or 15 homes a year, you're going to be amazing. There's no reason to sell anything more. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I was already closing 60, 65, 70 transactions by myself, average sales price of nearly $1 million. So in 2014 and 15, I realized that Sotheby's was not large enough. right? The leadership wasn't available. They really didn't have any direction. Unlike your company who gives you direction, Sotheby's didn't give that. So in 2015, after interviewing over 50 companies, by the way, John L. Scott was not one of them, but over 50 companies, I realized that Keller Williams was probably the place to be because it had a large bandwidth. And let me explain. We took the models of MREA, which is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, How to Profit $1 Million in Real Estate. We took the concept of the 80-20 rule, where 20% of your effort will lead to 80% of your result. And when you focus on your 20%, everything is easy and nothing else matters. And then we focused on the Ritz Carlton gold standards, which there are 5, and we'll go into them. So we took the models of running the real estate business with the models of performance paired with the gold standards of Ritz Carlton, and we created an organizational chart. And I said, in 5 years, by 2020, we want to be at 100 million. We hit that goal in 4 years. Why? Because we got purposeful rather than entrepreneurial on what we wanted to do. See, everybody in the room is 5 years away from where you want to be. Your ladies and gentlemen, your sales associates, someone in your office is 5 years away from being a diamond rock star. So I had to learn that swimming all alone, I had to shift to being a leader and bringing people into the culture, because culture is what you do and, more importantly, how you do it. And as an individual leader, we may have a vision or a standard, but until we put those brand standards on paper, other ladies and gentlemen cannot follow. Remember, people are not mind readers. Maybe someone in the room is a mind reader, but most people aren't mind readers. We have to share a culture of standards rather than try and reinforce a culture of suggestions. There's a difference. I have very high standards, yet few rules. Our ladies and gentlemen know exactly what they are to do, and they know the lane that they can do it in. And when they make a mistake, and they will, they know that we quickly recover the mistake, because here's the thing about the Ritz Carlton material. When there's a mistake, if you quickly recover it, i.e. service recovery, the brand loyalty the customer has to the brand is tighter than if there was no issue at all. Remember that. It's not a time to run from the phone, hide from the email. It's a time to put the extension out, bring them back to the brand. They'll appreciate that, and they'll stay loyal to you.
So tell us about your or your team makeup, the structure of that. Sure.
So I love the phone. I'm a phone guy. I love to call people. I'm a prospecting-based, outbound lead generation person who loves to make calls. We also supplement that with digital and print. So what we did is we said, okay, where do we want to be? We want to be X amount of volume, X amount of net profit, X amount of transactions. Those 3 always go together. So we said, okay, let's build out an organization where each person falls into one of 4 categories. Inside sales, outbound phone prospecting, inbound calls. The inside sales team, they're doing the phone calls, the digital marketing, everything that the customer needs to receive. Our second team is our listing team. They are primarily meeting with owners who want to be sellers and taking them through the contract. Our third team is our buyer specialist team. Why do we have a buyer specialist team? Because we have enough leads to justify it. If you're coaching a team, remember, a team is not done to get the leader out of production. The team is created to service the leads that need to be serviced. So we had so many leads coming in. In fact, we're averaging 2 referrals a day. One that just came from a John L. Scott, Jane Woodward, out of the Poulsbo market. Thank you so much, Jane. But you have enough buyer leads coming in where you have to have a buyer team. And then our fourth team is our admin operations team. And their job is to bolt great service from the start to the finish. So those are the 4 teams. So we have lead generation, inside sales, listing team, buyer team, admin, closing team. Team of 12, Now, if we look at our volume last year, we closed 121 units. If we look at our volume for 2020, we'll probably exceed 200. If you look at the volume for the last 90 days, we'll exceed 320. You can imagine our ladies and gentlemen are falling out of love of motivation and falling in love with discipline. It takes less energy and you'll get better results.
So much for the people aren't buying second homes statement.
What's that?
I said so much for the people aren't buying second home statement. I hear so much people mentioning that, you know, during COVID, they're not coming out to Palm Springs. That's quite the contrary based on your production.
Well, we have to look at the obvious that all of our clients, including ourselves, have figured out that we can work from home. So many of you look like you're working from home, right? And so they realize that their home could be anywhere in the world. I guarantee you that people in Seattle are probably looking at Suncadia. People in Seattle might be going to the Long Beach Peninsula.
They have more time to do it.
State, right?
Right.
Number two, our vacationers have figured out that they would prefer to travel by car and less by plane. Right? So they're buying those secondary resort markets. And third, there is level of volatility in the stock market and commercial real estate. So they're parking their money in residential income versus commercial. Here's the thing. Those three buyer pools partnered with low interest rates have really caused the market to be super strong. But remember, that is just the market of the moment. And so if you have a press release in your head related to market data from pre-COVID, that is no longer valid. We have to look at the market data today, reprogram ourselves to be aware of the market of the moment so that we're no longer giving out those press releases that are not going to resonate with today's buyers and sellers.
You had mentioned that you actually are at a point where you're actually receiving one incoming referral and sending out one outgoing referral daily now?
Yeah, we're teetering 2 incoming referrals a day.
Oh, wow.
And we're giving 1 outgoing referral a day. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that everybody should realize. Your ladies and gentlemen, and again, this comes from recruiters, this comes from agents, team leaders, what have you. You've trained your customer base that you're the expert in Vancouver, Washington, Bainbridge Island, Bellevue, Kirkland, wherever they are. They've trained them. But they fail to forget that those buyers and sellers who are so loyal to a John L. Scott agent are now looking outside of those markets. I would strongly encourage your agents to be asking the question, besides the market that I've served you in for the number of years, what other markets are you focusing on? In other words, what does your real estate monopoly board look like? What pieces do you want to move around the monopoly board? What pieces do you want to put on? Pieces do you want to get rid of? Because you can have that associate plug the client into any John L. Scott agent within your network, right? If they're moving to Newport Beach, they should reach out to the Newport Beach team of John L. Scott. If they're moving from Western to Eastern, train the customer, go to that associate first. And I'm telling you, if your ladies and gentlemen, your agents can put in their profit and line statement, referral income, they can get excited about that new revenue stream. Remember, their customer may not leave Yakima, they may not leave Ellensburg, they may not leave Kirkland, but their money may. And you have to learn how to follow that money. Because when you do, then you can see an increase in referral income.
One of the things you had mentioned is around ask for the business, that's a standard part of your conversation with the team. And so this sounds like, obviously with the referral opportunity, outgoing referral opportunity, that's a line item that oftentimes is missed.
Well, we get tired, James. And so rather than ask them a question, we'll give a statement. So like, hey, Cindy, when you have someone who wants to, buy or sell, just give me a call. Versus, who do you know that would like to buy or sell right now? It's that little shift of statement to question that causes commission income to come in. But we're so trained to say, oh, just give me a call when you need my assistance. No, what assistance may I offer you today to help you get what you want right now? It's just a reprogramming of the script. So what we did, and we did this primarily for two reasons. One is we wanted to increase referral income, right? And we wanted more testimonials, right? So we took the Ritz Carlton gold standards, and there are 5 of them, and we created our own gold standards, which we refer to as Aspire. And ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to steal this, right? ASPIRE. So everything that we do, Lennox, every marketing piece, every talent we select, every position we fill, they have to fold against Aspire. A, anticipate. We want our ladies and gentlemen to offer anticipatory service. What does that mean? It means that you identify what the customer needs and you give it to them before they realize they need it. The Ritz Carlton has mastered this. Before you realize you need a black napkin, right? They're going to give you a black napkin. Before you realize you need sugar in your coffee, they're going to ask you, which sugar would you like to enjoy with your coffee? Anticipatory service, S-serve. Now, more than ever before, I believe we have to show up every day with our servant hearts and serve our internal customers, which then allows us to serve our external customers. When I worked for Blake Nordstrom, I said, Blake, what's one of the most interesting secrets about Nordstrom? He says, our customers think they're first. Our internal customers are really in first, right? Take care of the internal customers who then are empowered to take care of the external. So AS, now P, perform. Now, if we don't perform, we don't have a profit. I don't think anyone in the group wants to run John L. Scott as a nonprofit or not-for-profit. We have to perform every day. And we do have to talk about performance every day. I'm the first one to say, tell me how you are, tell me how you're performing. Show me how you're performing. Show me how you're not performing. I want to be an advocate for getting them down to a road of performance. I is inspire. Boy, we wrote these core values before COVID. Never did I think that we would have to inspire our ladies and gentlemen at the level we have to, right? We're in a tough industry. We're in a tough economy. Seattle's having huge challenges. California, equally so. So we have to inspire, and we have to look for the cues and the clues of when we should inspire ourselves, inspire those around us. And by the way, that includes our families, our friends, our team members, our leadership, right? You really should take a moment, and I'm going to be very genuine about this, to thank your core leaders in John L. Scott. They've been carrying a lot of weight through this storm. So be inspirational to them. R, respond. Why is it that our industry will not respond to a cell phone, email, text? Is it because we're that busy? Or is it because we're tired? Or we've convinced ourselves that that customer calling is not going to do what we want them to do? Remember that 70 to 80% of income comes from your ability to be responsive and your ability to reach out. Be responsive. And finally, E is excel. You want to make sure that you're excelling, not just for the client, but you're excelling that inner voice within you. You're exceeding your own potential. Aspire. So we took Aspire, James, and we said, okay, wait a minute. What's the one thing that I hate doing the most? Trying to find a gift, wrap it, mail it. Like, I don't even know how much a stamp is. And where do you mail it, right? So we took that awkward moment of let's give a closing gift to the client. That closing gift to the client. You've helped that client. They've closed escrow. You're a little tired of them. They may be a little tired of you. We took that closing gift and we said, let's do something different. Let's identify 8 defining moments in the contract where we can just surprise and delight our customers. So we looked at the California contract, and by the way, I was licensed up in Washington through Dave Rockwell at Rockwell Institute. But in California, we have 8 defining moments, and I'll share them with you and you can use this. Number 1, the first defining moment is you found the client, they found you. That's a defining moment, right? The second defining moment is, well, they're going to select you to represent their home. That's a defining moment. You're going to select them to represent the home. It's a selection process. Once you've had that, then that next defining moment, that defining moment number 3 is the signing of the agreement. Now in California, we sign buyer brokers and we sign listing agreements. That's a defining moment. That's defining moment number 3. Defining moment number 4 for us is the photo shoot, right? You are photographing the home. That's a defining moment. Now, before we go through all 8, along the way, we give a client a gift at each defining moment. So for example, at the photo shoot, we leave a Ritz Carlton candle in a Ritz Carlton bag with a note. And the note simply reads that while we're looking for your buyer, please enjoy this fragrance for your home. We will find the buyer before the wick burns out. Now they're like, wow, like Lennox, awesome. Smile, right? So here's the thing. We understand that ladies and gentlemen, you do love to unwrap gifts. You won't accept it, but you do. When the customer calls and says, oh my gosh, I love that candle, that's great. Here's your question. We love that you feel as great as you do. Who do you know who'd like to feel as great as you do right now? In other words, that is the hand out to say, I'm going to give you more money. Don't simply say thank you and put the hand up. Who do you know who wants to feel as great as you do right now? So that's defining moment number 4. As we go into number 5, it's the launch of the listing, right? That's when the seller's like, oh my God, they're going to launch the listing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing more boring than launching a listing. But in the seller's mind, this is like the birth of their first grandchild. They think this is so exciting. For us, it's just another launch. So we send them a gift. What do we send them? Chocolate-covered strawberries, to let them know that we're working hard to find a buyer for their home. So while they're enjoying the chocolate-covered strawberries, our inside team, our listing team, our buying team, our admin team are all working together to find that buyer. Number 6, virtual open house, virtual preview. That's defining moment number 6. We used to call that open houses. We used to call that broker caravan. Now that's all virtual. Defining moment number 7, in California, it's the opening of the escrow, right? That's the acceptance of the offer, opening of the escrow, defining moment. Now, for us, the defining moment number 8 in California is the removal of the contingencies. See, in California, they actually remove the contingencies in writing. It's typically 17 to 21 days after the offer has been accepted. There's a form for it. In California, we love our forms. Notice the defining moment is not the closing gift. Why? Because we call that a departure gift, or for our buyers, an arrival gift. You see, ladies and gentlemen, if you're having a great dinner out, you're excited about the dinner while you're at dinner. You're not excited about the restaurant 4 days later. You probably can't remember where you were 2 days ago. So notice that we have to surprise and delight them when they're in that moment. So like the Ritz Carlton of Anticipatory Service, we have the defining moments where we surprise and delight the customers, which gives us the opportunity for 2 things. 1, ask for the business 8 steps throughout the transaction. That gives us 8 times to say, who else do you know who would like to feel as great as you do right now? And then obviously asking for the survey along the way rather than at the end when they're tired. So that's how we have culture show up into performance. We train our ladies and gentlemen to look for the cues and the clues to surprise and delight Notice when they have been surprised and delight, and then ask for the business of who else they know that we can help get what they want done in the time they want.
Sounds like your clients are perfectly handled, but then you're highly intentional about asking for the business. And by systematizing the 8 pivotal moments, it reminds the team all along the way to do that.
Right. And so in launching this program, again, pre-COVID, we're now seeing the benefit of getting more referrals coming in, generating more referrals, and finding people who have real estate here and real estate in the Northwest to send those referrals back up to the Seattle area, Spokane, Vancouver, basically the Pacific Northwest.
I think we have a Zoom question. Nick, can you help us there?
Yeah, great, Brady. Quick question. What has been the most valuable piece of advice you've received that has had the greatest impact on your business? Because obviously you've learned a lot through your career.
Yeah. 2 things and maybe a third. Because James knows I like to speak in 3s, right? First and foremost is very tactical. And this came directly from Mike Ferry, who coaches me. And that is, the first thought that enters your head is generally a negative one. It's generally not going to work in your favor. So that second thought needs to be positive, and it has to arrive quickly. You may have thought, oh, who is this guy from Coachella Valley? Where is Coachella Valley, right? Is there going to be any use to this guy? Second thought is, no, wait a minute, I could learn something today that I can put into my business immediately. So mindset. Longer road, every business runs on a 90-day cycle, meaning every business person should have a 90-day business plan. May 1st, I wrote a 90-day business plan to get us out of the gutter. Keep in mind, and Lennox, you'll laugh at this, Palm Springs typically has 900,000 people in the month of March. In 72 hours, we dropped from 900,000 to 200,000. Literally, people left rental cars abandoned at the side of the runway. Abandoned. Like, if you wanted to steal a car, not that I recommend stealing a hurt Chevrolet Impala, nothing against Chevy Impalas, but if you wanted to steal a car, that was the weekend to do it, right? I wrote a 90-day plan and said, we're going to get ourselves out of this gutter for the next 90 days. And I looked at that plan every single hour of every single day that I was awake. And I'm telling you, there were 3 legs on that stool. How many listings were we going to take? How many listings were we going to sell? How many buyer sales were we going to have? And we got through that storm and beat that 90-day plan. You have to have a 90-day plan. A 1-year plan's too far. The market, look how much the market has changed. We've gone through 2 cycles in 6 months. 90 days and 90 days. 90 days of falling off the ledge and 90 days of thrive. It's the difference between a survival and a thrival. And you're just thriving forward. So ultimately, Nick, I have to say, it's that 90-day plan.
No, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, we spoke a little bit about creating beautiful cultures and how to elevate culture. I'd like you've touched on it a little, I'd like you to go a little further there. I think, you know, as we look at all of our offices, culture is so important, obviously, to attract agents, but then retain agents, and for us as agents and brokers to feel supported and like we're have I guess a launch pad for success. So around that idea, creating beautiful cultures and how to elevate culture, could you touch a little further on that?
Sure. It starts with the defining the culture that you want. You really have to be clear on the culture that you want to create. What is the culture scenography? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you feel? That's culture, right? And once that's been defined, then we have to look at the language that we're using. For example, I recommend that we don't talk about recruiting agents. we'll say we're selecting talent. I don't talk about, hey guys, thanks for coming on to Zoom today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom today. It's the language. Like as soon as I said lady, Aaron just shifted back on screen, right? We have to be respectful of the language that we use. One of the gold standards from the Ritz Carlton, the motto is ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen, right? So the language that we use, the vision and the language. And then thirdly, it's the behavior. It's looking for the cues and the clues, and it is difficult. But it starts with our internal customers. It starts with our frontline lady or gentleman who's welcoming the guest into that office. Remember, we are in a transaction-based business, which means we can get numb to the transformation of future agents, current agents, or customers. When you're transactional, you're very rhythmic. When you're transformational, you're looking for something engaging. So we really focus on the vision, the language, the behavior, and the engagement strategies. Because again, we're going against that 67% of people that might leave because they're no longer engaged to the brand.
Boy,
sure.
A lot of
you have to talk about it every day.
Yeah.
You have to talk about it every day.
Yeah. So what's a normal work week for you? And what would you say your role is? I mean, you were sure to say that you're not out of production.
Right. So I wake up, I was up at, this is not a good, I was up at 4:30 this morning because I was leading a call for East Coast market centers on, the market of the moment. Having said that, most of the time my day starts at 7 a.m. I'm role playing, ladies and gentlemen, because we need to practice on our peers, not on the people that pay us. Jane Woodward, a phenomenal John L. Scott on Polsbo, and I are role play partners Tuesday morning at 7:45. We're role playing specific things on my schedule that day. It might be a negotiation, a price reduction, request for repair, closing, but I'm role playing from 7 to 8 o'clock every single day. Do I love it? Absolutely not. But I love the result. Number 2, 8 o'clock, I'm looking at some things operationally, like where are we for the goals? What does the team need to hear? Because at 8:45, we're doing the 3 Gs. Gratitude, goals, and grit. That will go until about 9 to 9:30. We're role playing with the group. We bring everybody into Zoom and we're role playing live situations. Why? Because they need to practice on each other, again, not on the people that pay us. So by 9:30, I'm on the phones. 9:30, I'm lead generating, lead follow-up, doing the things I need to do for production. Occasionally, I'll have the pleasure to join John L. Scott and talk for an hour or so on what we're talking about this morning. And then by 12, quick protein bar. I'm either doing virtual appointments, virtual listing appointments, showing appointments, or going on appointments, right? And then I'm negotiating contracts. I'm typically back on at 4:45 for our accountability call. That will typically end by 5. We'll give a fond farewell to our ladies and gentlemen, reinforcing the importance of how much we appreciate them, how much we appreciate what they do for the customers. And then from like 5:15 to 6:30, I'm working on me, right? I'm self-reflecting, looking for tomorrow, looking at big things. Along the way, we may have Gary Keller, our CEO, reach out. We may have some of our regional directors call out. I may have the president of Ritz Carlton Leadership Center call out. So you have to pivot, right? But here's the thing. I recognize that my number 1 job is to lead generate for the ladies and gentlemen that I represent. My number 2 job is to be that chief visionary officer for them. That's really my 20%. And when you select talent that understands the direction you're going, the lanes are more narrow, everyone stays more focused, which means I have the ability to leave the market every 21 days for up to a week. What do? I travel around the country and share with people how they can make their lives better. I may go to a conference or retreat. I may check in and read 6 or 7 books. Work on a very high strategic plan or a very small operational problem. But I typically pull myself out of the market so that I can work into the market. You work on the business when you're away from it. It's hard to be working on the business when you're in the business. I've learned that I love to fly to Hawaii. Anybody wants to go to Hawaii? I've got a house there. I love to go to Hawaii. I can read a good book or 2 on a 4 to 5 hour flight. May they never allow cell phones on that flight. So that's really a daily life. I would say, again, production, vision, and pivoting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Brady, I really appreciate this time and all the amazing nuggets that you've provided to our team. And it's just been a special chance to hear about your team and about the definable moments. Obviously, the gold standard, being reminded of those sense touch moments through the transaction. Also reminding us to ask for the business when people are feeling really, really great. So, imagine that.
If I could just offer one suggestion to everybody in real estate right now, and that is lead the conversations with care, right? Go in with a high level of curiosity. Be asking more questions than you are talking. Whether that's selecting new talent into your office, it's dealing with a challenging issue that's directly in front of you. It's looking at long-term vision of the company. Ask the questions, because the better the questions, the better and more clear the answer will be.
Yeah, James. Brady, I just want to say thank you on behalf of John L. Scott for being with us here today.
My pleasure, Lennox.
You're a leader, you're a teacher, you're an inspiration to all those around you. And just the approach in business and the discipline to focus in on your systems and your habits, because if you do those, only good things happen. That's what I'm hearing out of today. And you're so into the conversation of excellence. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. It's truly an honor to be in the room with you. I'm a raving fan of your brand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Brady, thank you so much for your time. On behalf of the John L. Scott Facebook Friday team, Lennox, Scott, our moderators, Nick and Aaron, and all the ladies and gentlemen that have joined us today, thank you so much for being here. And we just appreciate everyone that joins our call. Everyone, of course, same time, same place. We'll be here next week at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're meeting with Real Estate Back Operations. This is a company that actually is an expert company around valuating real estate firms. So if you've ever wondered how to evaluate your own real estate firm, if you're an independent one of our franchise owners and kind of curious on what your real estate firm is worth, Brad and Rob will be unpacking that for us next week for the entire show. So it's going to be great. Now also, for our agents, brokers that are on the call, this is a great opportunity to learn about the nuts and bolts of running a real estate firm and the key components of the financial key components that you would look at for a successful brokerage if you ever wanted to own one. So it's just kind of a good educational opportunity for agents, brokers, office leaders, and our independent owners and operators. So thank you so much for joining us, Brady. We are, when I'm in Palm Desert a little later on this month, I'd love to see you. So maybe we can
It'll happen.
From a distance, of course.
It'll happen. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.